All right. 2025 is going to be Destiny 2's make or break year. There is no two ways about it. If you look at all the different statistics and data of this game, the highs and the lows over the last 10 years, this year right now is shaping up to be either Destiny 2's last year as a video game franchise, or maybe Frontiers turns everything around. Only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what Bungie can deliver with Frontiers. This is an article from Paul Tassi from Forbes, and we have 2025 is the year we find out whether Destiny 2 can survive. Kind of details all the different trials and tribulations that Bungie has been going through and is still currently going through. We're just days away from the beginning of 2025, the first year completely outside of Destiny 2's decade-long Light and Darkness saga, and I would argue this is the year whether we find out whether Destiny 2 can survive. I wholeheartedly agree with this because given everything that's happened previously, obviously we had the Light and Darkness saga, we had the Final Shapes launch. This year has been so turbulent that I really feel like if Bungie can survive in their whole new expansion model they're doing, that this would really be very telling for Destiny's future. As it stands right now though, it is looking really bad. Like we're looking like we're in the red. Obviously we had a ton of layoffs, and it's looking like it could be trending that way once more, given all of the follow-up episodes that have followed the Final Shape. Possibly even if Bungie can survive the long term, but that's a separate conversation, and heavily reliant on Marathon, which is too much of a question mark at this point. So we are talking a little bit more about Destiny 2 specifically. Obviously, Destiny 2's failure has deep implications for Bungie as a company. However, they also are developing that game Marathon, and Marathon does stand a chance at being successful. I know whether you want it or not, Marathon can be a very successful game. Only time will tell how successful its launch will be. And of course, if Destiny 2 fails horribly and Marathon is successful, that would be the craziest twist of fate. I doubt that's what the outcome will be, but that would be a pretty wild one, right? And even if the Destiny 2 does fail horribly, I'm sure that Sony will just take over and replace all of the different CEOs and everything, just completely absolve Bungie as a company in its entirety. But let's go on to the next part here. We have 2025 will bring the final episode of the year, one focused on the Hive and the return of the Dreadnought. I'm actually looking forward to that. Then we will launch into the new Frontiers era of Destiny 2 with a Summer Apollo expansion and a Winter Behemoth expansion. So with these, they're actually doing like smaller sized expansions, which may actually have a positive effect with keeping consistent player base. However, it seems more like it's Bungie downscaling things, like kind of giving us less content, but spread out even thinner too. But we'll have to see what it looks like over time. We'll have to see how well the first year of Frontiers plays out, because obviously the Final Shape it was very critically acclaimed. It did really well. Even I myself said that for a Destiny player, I think that Final Shape's launch and the story and everything it delivered was a 10 out of 10. I still stand by that in terms of Final Shape's launch and initial reviews. However, Final Shape is more than just its launch. It's an entire year of content. And after everything we've experienced post Final Shape, post that maybe first and second month, it's really gone downhill pretty fast. With quarterly, seemingly story-free major updates, no more seasons, no more episodes, Apollo and Behemoth seem likely to be somewhat in between a traditional expansion and an episode in terms of size. Hopefully it's significantly meatier than an episode. It's interesting where we had 4 seasons, and then 4 seasons got reduced to 3 episodes, which definitely have season-like qualities. And now that 3 is being turned into 2, right? So it feels like we're seeing that downscale. Literally, we're going from 4 to 3 to 2 now. And hopefully each of these are meaty enough to keep the players interested throughout the year. Because one thing that's a big trend that's happening is that we are getting significant spikes in population when we have new content, but it's dwindling down so fast. We don't keep players in this game, which is really a problem with player retention, which previously, as I've mentioned many times before, when I actually visited Bungie HQ and I talked with various different Activision employees, Bungie's and Destiny 2's biggest highlight, and the reason why Activision was so excited to work with a game like them, was because they had the highest player retention of any of the other flagship games that were under them. Basically, even though they had a smaller player base, people that play Destiny 2 play it for so much longer. They have a much longer playtime session playing this game, but we're finding that that's not the case anymore. So Bungie and Destiny 2 has literally lost the thing that makes it special. Destiny 2 has its lowest Steam player count in the history of the game on that platform, and console numbers are no doubt trending similarly. We don't actually know the numbers specifically of the consoles, I believe, but of course, it's just everything across the board is extremely low. You can see it in Fireteam Finder. You can see it in trials. I mean, it feels like there's literally more cheaters than actual people in that playlist now. This is despite an episode adding some genuinely good activities, but these yawning gaps in between acts create almost unprecedented levels of downtime. Same structure will exist next episode, and it remains to be seen whether there will be enough changes to draw more players, or if these declines will continue. And that really is an excellent point right there, the yawning gaps in between each act. It feels a lot like it's a seasonal model, but there's like this extra month at the end there, and there's just like nothing to do at the end of that month. So it's just the player base just completely vanishes away. And obviously Destiny 2, whether you like the game or not, there's also just a lot of other really good games to play right now. So if they can't keep you interested in playing the final month of every episode, then of course people are going to go play Call of Duty. People are going to play all these other games. There's a ton of different games that people are playing now. There's so many other good games, and they're always pumping out new content as well. The Frontiers era has promised to take us out of the current solar system and into new places, which is very exciting in my opinion. I actually am looking forward to this, genuinely. But a test there is going to be what percentage of players actually show up for these new smaller expansions. This is actually really important because we have seen lower peak population for the new episodes that have launched in Destiny 2. So basically everything is trending downwards, lower peaks and lower valleys than ever before. Final Shape posted close to series highs, but given that we had ended up at series lows at the end of this year, it will take some heavy lifting to get players to return for Frontier/Apollo. So what's it going to be? 70% players return, 50%, 30%? And what about as the year goes on without actual seasons or episodes in the interim? Yeah, definitely a scary time. Hopefully Bungie is cooking up something big with Frontiers. I don't know what they would be cooking. Feel free to leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments, but hopefully it is massive, right? Bungie is now down to just 850 or so employees split between Destiny and Marathon, half of what it was a few years ago between layoffs and quiet departures. And while they have lost half, it should say that this is still a healthy amount of people necessary to deliver a really high quality product game. Like, we shouldn't think that, you know, being down to a measly 850 employees means that Destiny is a dead game by any means. There's still a ton of employees and still a ton of, you know, manpower to create an excellent product and actually they have the potential, right? Still. And as Marathon aims for a 2025 release, probably 2026 if we're being honest, Marathon definitely getting delayed to 2025. Make sure that Marathon doesn't launch anywhere near Grand Theft Auto 6 though. Let's just be careful of that. More resources will shift over there as that game being a hit is really like the main key to Bungie's survival, but whether it's a hit or a miss, future Destiny content will be reduced in scale. There are promising signs like Destiny 2 is still ranking in Steam's Platinum tier of earners in 2024, albeit that was again the year of the Final Shape, which put up huge numbers. That's the interesting part. Bungie and Destiny 2, they did hit the Platinum tier in Steam, which you're like, wow, they're making so much money. Why is it that they are struggling so much at post that, right? Well, they make a lot of money in such a short period of time, and then following that, the entire year, they're not doing as well. So it's like, they make a lot in a very short period of time, whereas these other games, or maybe other games, maybe they do it better or not, who knows, but we do know that Final Shape was successful enough to at least get them in Platinum tier. That alone, I would say, is what got them in Platinum tier, the launch of Final Shape. And despite what it earns, Bungie's burn rate of cash spend has always been enormous, which resulted in significant issues post-Lightfall, and there have been cuts and cuts since then. It has not been healthy for a while now. I'm legitimately wondering that if 2025 content does not perform the way it needs to, that Bungie may in fact consider putting Destiny on ice for the foreseeable future and devote everything to Marathon or other projects while keeping D2 in maintenance mode. That would be really interesting if they actually did that, put on ice. I don't even know what that looks like if it's technically on ice. Maybe that's where the Crucible has been for the past few years. Well, not everything, as I would hope the idea would be to attempt to bring Destiny roaring back to life with a sequel, say 5 years from now, which I and the player base have said many times feels like the only way to fix things and stop these endless declines. So we're talking about Destiny 3 again. But that would require work to essentially begin now. It's hard to see Destiny 2 doing nothing but cranking out Frontiers level content for the next 5 years without any sort of move toward an eventual sequel. The game is going to feel ancient the longer this goes, and we are speeding towards an entirely new console generation. And lastly, we have, it's possible Frontiers is a hit, and if content spend is reduced and player spend stays the same or even improves, that could mean a profitable, slimmer Destiny really is the way forward. but I am seeing more red flags than green ones as we hit 2025 here. And as much as I'd like that to not be the case. Got it. Very interesting stuff from Paul Tassi. I'm happy he's able to, or willing to talk about this, because I feel like a lot of times Destiny content creators, we kind of go in the doom and gloom mode when we get to the end of a season or an episode or an expansion. I mean, we've heard how many times now, Destiny is dying, you know, and it gets a bit exhausting when that's the narrative, is that Destiny is dying or Destiny is a dead game. Instead, we want to kind of focus on the statistics, the data, what evidence do we have here, and kind of what are the trends, what is it trending towards right now, you know, in the gaming industry as a whole. Where does Destiny 2's place sit? And can we create a sort of trajectory or projection for where Destiny 2 will be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And unfortunately, even if you're being as rational and as, you know, calm about it as possible, it's looking really bad. It's very hard not to say this is like really dire bad times. This might be the worst time we've ever seen. This is like, we're bordering Destiny 2 year one times, and the content in the game is good. Destiny 2 year one had an interesting caveat, right? If you don't remember why it was so bad and why everyone talked about the dark ages for Destiny 2, everyone claimed that it was so bad because the game removed randomized rolls from weapons. There was no build crafting or customizable subclasses, so you were just kind of locked into, you know, Solar Titan and stuff like that. You could not, like, there's nothing you could do to customize your character very much, right? And so we kind of pinned the blame of Destiny 2 year one on that alone. And then as we expanded the game and built on all those systems and redeveloped this stuff, taking a lot of things from Destiny 1, if we're being honest, then people said, Destiny 2 is back. Destiny 2 is successful once more. However, this doesn't have that same issue. Like, all the systems are there. All the build crafting is there. All the exotics you could ever want are there. Weapons and armor. And yet still people aren't playing. Destiny 2 really struggles to acquire new players. Destiny 2 really struggles to maintain its current players. It's definitely a dark time right now. Maybe this is that in-between time, though. Maybe this is that weird time between the end of the final shape and the big story launch and then Frontiers. So maybe this will be like just a dark era that we'll forget about as Frontiers finds massive success. And hopefully that is the case, but as it stands right now, I can't think of something that Frontiers would truly deliver with what Bungie has been advertising that would really win everyone over and make it such a big success. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think that Destiny 2 can survive 2025? Do you think that this is truly the make or break year for this franchise? That's a wrap on the video. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.